Hi friends, Kathy Lanzalaco here with another episode of Inspire Career Spotlight on Careers, the video podcast series where I bring you best-in-class career-related information to keep you up to date and help you advance in your careers. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about manifestation, but we're going to talk about really where that starts, and that's in your head. So today, we're going to be talking about using mind games to get what you want. Manifesting your dream job. Now listen, before you go, oh my God, we're getting a little too woo-woo here. I want you just to slow down a second and just think about what I'm talking about. Job search success, life success, any project you undertake always starts in the head. We always visualize it first. We think about it first. It's created twice. Who said that? Napoleon Hill? Somebody said that. Everything is created twice. Maybe it was Einstein. So everything is created twice, once in the mind and once in reality. And that's what we're going to tap into today. So listen, you're looking for a new job, or you're looking to advance in the workplace. And fortunately, there are a number of people that are going to sit down and craft out a plan. Oh, I better get my resume updated. Oh, I better get my LinkedIn fully optimized. I should think about my networking contacts. Where do I want to be in 2 months? Where do I want to be in 5 years? What skills gaps do I have? What do I need to do to get there? It's great. You need a plan. As a career coach, I will always tell you you need a plan, and I can help you create those. But what I'm also telling you is that job search success starts in the head. It's no different than any other goal that you set for yourself, whether or not it's personal, professional, emotional, mental, physical, whatever it is you want to do. Everything starts first and is created first in our heads. So sometimes it may be a little difficult to get your arms around that when you're thinking, well, I don't know that I believe that, one, or two, I'm not really sure what to do with that. And it feels so woo-woo. And what if I don't even believe what I'm thinking about? It just kind of seems crazy. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to get over that hump of, I don't even believe it. Why am I thinking it? Or what does this really mean? And does it work? Yes, it does work. And we're going to talk about how it works. But let's start out first by saying sometimes, like in other aspects of your life, you just have to jump in and you have to believe, and you have to say that if I practice and if I continue to work at it, I will get the results from it. Think about the first time you went to the gym. You went to the gym, you got on the treadmill, you got on some other piece of equipment, worked out for 20 minutes, a half hour. Did you walk away and see results the first day? No. Do you receive results the second day? No. But do your muscles hurt? Do you wonder why you did it? Are you thinking about, what am I going to do different tomorrow? And after 3 or 4 days, you expect to see results. Let's face it, we do. But you don't necessarily see them right away. But you're laying that foundation, and every day's activities are laying on top of the other. And they're building a very strong foundation for one day. Ooh, look at this. My pants fit better. It's the same concept here. But it does take some training for your mind. And that's why we've titled this podcast about mind games, because sometimes you have to play with them a little bit. You got to play with yourself a little bit to get to where you want to go. Same thing with the gym, folks. You go in there because you imagine yourself in better shape and feeling better at the end. The exact same thing. So let's talk about that. The first thing, can you play a mind game with yourself to get you to where you want to go, professionally speaking? And of course, applies to everything. First thing is thinking about the power of visualization. What is visualization? It's actually visualizing your own success, whatever that means to you. Go back again to the gym analogy. And how many times do you see people that post pictures of themselves in that old dress or old suit that they can't fit into anymore, and that's their goal to get into it? Or the dream dress they want to wear at their wedding, or they want to be a bodybuilder and they want their body to look, the physique to look like this one particular person that they're modeling after. That is visualization. Getting in your mind and printing in your mind what you want the outcome to be. So if right now you're currently a marketing manager and you want to be CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, how do you get there? You start by thinking about the end result, and then you build your plan backwards. So if you say, well, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to be running the whole show here. Okay, great. Let's start by talking about how you visualize that. What does your day look like? Think about going from your QB potentially, your little QB, or maybe working remotely from home, or whatever your situation is, and the people that you're interacting with now, to that CMO level, and what that really means. That means being in the C-suite. That means being with the main decision makers of the organization. So think about that. Visualize what your day is like, who the other members on the team were like. How are you working? Are you on site? Are you remote? Are you hybrid? What kind of clothes are you wearing? Are you changing your wardrobe now that you've elevated? Hopefully you've done that already. That's an old practice. But what does that look like? What do you want your days to look like? And importantly, how do you want them to feel? How do you want that job to make you feel? And if you can start feeling that ahead of time, ultimately that's going to help change your reality. But right now we're still visualizing. All we're doing is thinking about ourselves in that high chair, in that C-suite that we want, or whatever else your goal is. Maybe the goal is a number. Maybe the goal is a particular situation, a work situation. Let's say you've been working in an office for 20 years and you are done with that. And you say, I'm not doing that anymore. I want a remote situation. I'm going to find that. All right, then let's visualize that. What does your day look like? What exactly are you doing? Do you have a home office? Go in that office, sit in that chair. Think about you working there all day instead of just an hour in the evening doing leftover work. Get in there, see how that feels, and think about that. Close your eyes and think about what 9 o'clock in the morning in your own office, in your own home feels like. Maybe you've been to the gym first and then you come back to the office. What is that? Think about it. Place it in your head, because if it's in your head, you can get it out and into your physical reality. Visualization is key. And the great Bob Proctor, and I don't know if you know who he is, you can look him up. He's passed away now, about 2 years, I guess. Great coach, motivational speaker. He was 84 when he passed away, and he'd been preaching the message since he was 25. And when I say preach, I mean sharing the message, inspiring others all over the world. And he talks about visualization as a practice. And that's what I'm telling you. The first time you sit and you think, I think I want to do this, and what does that look like? It might feel a little weird. That's where the mind game piece comes in. You have to practice it. And look, I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You ever done a vision board before? Do you know what those are? The vision boards, a lot of people do them at the beginning of a new year, where they cut out pictures, they download stuff from the internet, whatever it is, phrases, things that they relate to, and they put them on a board. And they put it somewhere where they can see it every day. And those are their goals for the year. Maybe it's a 3-year, 5-year plan. What are they doing? They're visualizing. They're thinking about it, and they're using the visual stimulation of the physical board to help continue to imprint on their brain. So I'm going to share something with you here. So for those of you that know me well, know that I plan to move within the next year. I'm going to move to some warmer weather. I am a little tired of the snow. So anyway, here is a picture of the house that I want. I don't have this house. I don't own this house. Not yet, but in my head, I'm owning it. And I visualize it. Print out a picture. This is just a picture from the internet. Sits on my desk and I look at it all day long. And I am continuing to visualize myself walking through there. What do the ceilings look like? What kind of floors do I have? Where's my security system on the wall? Same principles that you apply for visualization that you're going to be applying for your career management. Seeing yourself in that role, immersing yourself, walking through that in your mind. This is where it all starts. So I continue to do that. I continue to visualize the house that I want. Actually, next weekend, I'm going down to actually scope out that area even more, putting myself in the space. That's how I got my car. I have to be honest with you. I had a very certain car in mind that I wanted several years ago, right before the pandemic hit. I visualized it. I cut out the logo for the kind of car I wanted, and I placed it inside my car over the one that was currently on my steering wheel so that I could look at it all the time and pretend I was driving that car. Took me about 6 months to get my car. And now I've had it for almost 4 years, and I love it. I still love it as much today as I did the day that I bought it. And I got it through visualization. And I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And then I moved from thinking about it and writing about it and journaling about it to going to the car dealership and test driving a few to get it and to really get my body feeling it. I got that car. And that's how I'm going to get that house too, by the way. So for you, it's the exact same thing when we're talking about how you're going to manifest that new job. But you got to tell your brain, even when your brain doesn't believe it, your mind's like, that's crap. You don't have that car. You don't have that house. You're never going to get in that C-suite. Oh, yes. And this is why we have to keep going back and using these tools to play those mind games with ourselves to be able to get ourselves where our minds need to be, because we want to be practical, don't we? How often does somebody say you want to do something and there's always somebody to put a hand up and say, you can't do that. They mean well, right? But they say, that's unrealistic. You're going to get hurt. Don't do that. Well, this has trained your brain beyond that and allows you to really realize what your full potential is instead of keeping to put up those roadblocks. So now that you're thinking about it and you got your mindset going and you're thinking about it, how can you strengthen that? You do it every day. You keep thinking about it. You have your prompts around your house. And then I'm going to encourage you to introduce affirmations. And if you say, oh, Kathy, I was cool with the visualization, but the affirmations are definitely too woo-woo and weird, I'm going to encourage you to create your own rather than using some ones that you may have heard in the past that don't feel right on you. The affirmations have to feel right. They have to feel like you, or your subconscious isn't going to accept them. So if you've heard other affirmations and you're like, well, that's just weird, then don't use those. Create your own that means something to you, that are really going to trigger that feeling inside of you and is going to allow your subconscious to take over. So for instance, you want that great job, that CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer job. I am so happy and grateful now that I am in my CMO job, and the wonderful salary that I gain from this allows me to take my family to Puerto Rico once a year. I have worked so hard to get to the CMO position at my company. It feels great to have the kind of autonomy and authority that I have worked so hard to achieve, right? You can use very quick ones too, because you don't want it to be too complicated, but you can work. I hear this all the time when people want to attract more money, like for the law of attraction, and they're trying to get more money. And they're saying, I'm a money magnet. I'm a money magnet. Well, does that feel right to you? If it does, run amok. Go use it. It hasn't helped me win $10 million yet, but I will continue to move my affirmations around in case it does. But it really has to be something that you feel like could be real one day. And that's where it starts. If it's something like, oh, well, I'm going to go to the moon one day and you've never thought about it before, have no idea what to do with it, and aren't really sure you're going to focus too much on that, then that's not going to work. But the affirmations, when you say them in the morning, when you're fresh in the morning, put a little reminder by your mirror in your bathroom as you go in to brush your hair, to get ready for the day and brush your teeth. You can just repeat those affirmations while you're standing there. If you tend to journal in the evening right before you fall asleep, keep them in your journal. Say them and write them in your journal every evening. What are you doing on your lunchtime? Maybe you're taking a quick walk. Maybe you're running to the gym. Put them on your own recording on your phone. Say them, or train yourself to say them 10 times a day, every 3 hours, whatever it is, right? So build it in, whatever feels right. But the more you do it, the more you'll start to feel it, the more it'll support the visualization piece that we were talking about. The other thing is to live in the state of your desires. That anchors you in that space. That's what I was talking about with my car. How when I wanted that car, that I went to the dealership and I drove the car to really get the feeling. And then I had to go back to my car that I had, and I wasn't disappointed because I knew if I could get there and I could drive in it, I could own it. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm going to be doing that with my house because I'm going down house hunting, and I'm going to be looking in those neighborhoods that I want to live in. So how does that apply to your career? You say, well, that's great, Kathy, but I can't go to the current chief marketing officer, tell them to get their butt out of the chair and me sit on it. Well, no, maybe that's probably not appropriate. But by the same token, what is the situation there? Can you work with them? Can you ask for mentoring from them? Can you find a way to be involved in those meetings, in those decisions? Can you talk to HR and find out what is the career path for there? And can they help you, before you leave that office, do one thing that's going to get you closer? And when we talk about living in the state of the desires, yes, it's about physically putting yourself in there, and that helps your mental state and ultimately your emotions, which are the driver of the ultimate success that you want. It's the feelings that actually, not the thoughts, actually it's the feelings that allow us to take the action and to make these things happen. But think about that. If you already had that great CMO job, what would that life look at? Would you be scheduling that vacation for Puerto Rico? Would you commit to your family that this is where you're going to go? Tell your spouse that. Tell your kids that. Set that great example and say, next year, I'm going to have that job and this is what we're going to be doing. How would you feel? How would you carry yourself? How would you go through your day if you already had what you wanted? So think about that car. If that was the car that you wanted to drive to that fabulous new job, how would getting in whatever car, doesn't matter, there's no judgment on what it is, how would that make you feel? And while I'm not suggesting that we get our value from jobs or from cars or from anything that we want, the reality is these are all mechanisms, vehicles for us to achieve what we want in our lives. And we can enjoy them. You have my permission. Give yourself your own permission to enjoy without having to explain or defend anything you want. If you want that CMO job and your friends are telling you that's crap, you're never going to have it, you don't owe them the explanation about why you want it. You don't have to tell them that you want more money. You don't have to tell them that you want some more authority. You don't have to tell them that you want that Puerto Rico vacation once a year. You don't owe them any of those explanations. You just need to tell yourself those things. But when you're living in the state and think, how would I think? What would I do? How would my day look differently if I worked from home? Remember, we were talking about that before. What would my day look like? Maybe I would be at the gym every day at 5 o'clock. Now I can barely get out of bed on time to drag myself into the office. But if I was working from home, I'd have renewed energy. I'd be making my own schedule. I'd be at that gym every day, right? What would I be doing at noon? Instead of hanging out in the boring lunchroom, I'd be out walking around the block in my new house. Whatever it is that's important to you. Maybe you'd run to the library, maybe to get some errands done. Doesn't matter. No judgment. You decide. But start doing it before you have it. Start feeling what that feels like before you actually have the key to that office, before you've been given that promotion and signed on the dotted line. This is where the mind game piece comes in, because this is where people say, Kathy, I feel like I'm lying to myself. I don't get that. Doesn't make sense, and it doesn't feel authentic. Back to the mind game, please, in a good way. Think of it more as mind training if you have to. But how do you think people like Jeff Bezos created Amazon? He envisioned it. He thought about it. He talked as if he already had it. You know that he did, because you cannot create a monster like Amazon and not have done those things. It doesn't happen by accident. And the continued growth doesn't happen by accident. Look about Oprah Winfrey. Oprah will tell you over and over again how she's used these tools to achieve everything in her life. She's 70 years old, and she still has new goals for herself. She still has new things, and she still goes back to these basic principles. You don't have to like either one of these people. You just have to understand the secret to their success. And if you're not clear, go get a book. Get the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That book has a lot of these same principles that we're talking about, and that is the definitive book. I mean, this is where I get thoughts and information. This is where people do. That guy wrote that book 100 years ago. And if you don't know the story about Napoleon Hill, you go ahead and you Google him, look to hear about what he did, his relationship with Andrew Carnegie, why he went out and talked to all these leaders, how he got to the book Think. Below it starts, the first word is think and grow rich. And again, we're talking here about career management strategies, life strategies. Rich is whatever you want it to be. It can be financial. It can be emotional, physical. It does not matter. So go ahead and read that book. That's going to be very helpful. And once you do that, you'll realize that what I'm talking about here are just ways that I've seen it applied to my life. I encourage my clients to write out their perfect job, because I tell them, if you write it out, what a day in that life is like and how that makes you feel, you are far more likely to get it. Do you follow Tony Robbins? He's another guy. You might think the guy's over the top. He might be too much energy for you, but listen to the message. And he will tell you it's all in your mind. And he talks about neurotransmitters and all of these things. And we're not getting into all the science here today, other than to say you can train your mind, you can train your emotions to get exactly what you want. So additional techniques that you can use for your mind, meditation. And if you have never meditated, again, making you feel like, oh, do I have to go to Tibet to do it? No, you don't. You can do that in your own home office. You can do it outside in your backyard. You can do it while you're walking. You can do it whatever is good for you. Maybe it's that first 10 minutes in the day before you get out of bed. Maybe it's that last 10 before you fall asleep. But it's meant to be quiet time where you quiet your mind. Your phone isn't even on buzz. It's not even on vibrate. It's off, or it's not in the room at all. TV's off. Books are put away. And it might take 5 to 10 minutes just to settle your mind, particularly if it's at the end of the day and you've had a busy day. That's why morning time can be really good because you're fresh and you're coming into a fresh new day and you don't have a lot of stuff clouding your mind before you get to your calendar, before you get to all the things to do. And Google meditation, look up best practices. But what it really is calming your mind to allow yourself to think and feel, reset, but think and feel on a deeper level. And sometimes you get things that come into your mind. Oh, you have to go to the grocery store. What are you doing here? Push out those thoughts and just center on your breathing. Just calm your mind. This helps support everything we're talking about. This is a mind game, if you will. Consider that mind training. If we can't control our own minds, what can we possibly control? And there is so much noise out there. There's so much news. There's so much garbage. There's so much misinformation. There's so much good information. There's just too much of everything. You need to be able to focus on what's important to you and to be able to clear out your mind and calm your soul so that you can really digest what's important for you and really feel the things that you want to feel instead of what everybody else wants to shove down your throat. So the other thing I will encourage you to do is be very mindful about what you're doing throughout the day. When you find yourself stepping into old patterns of negative thoughts, bad talking about yourself, bad talking about other people, pull yourself out of it and refocus to a very mindful approach, one that is centered in gratitude, one that is centered in positivity. And how about this word, folks? Do you love the big A word? Abundance. That's what we're talking about here. But back to the title of this whole talk today is about mind games. It's about training your mind. Sometimes you have to do that to get into the space. But once you're there, it becomes very easy. It's just a new habit, just like if you were quitting an old habit and bringing in a new one, or back to that gym example of going to the gym every day. It does take a little bit of practice. But once you get into it, there is nothing that you cannot do. You will see and feel a change in your energy, the way you relate to people, the way people relate to you, the way opportunities come to you. It's a complete game changer. But you have to let yourself get into it. You have to, I already used the word surrender, but you have to be willing to get in there and let it happen. You have to work at it. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight. I keep saying that because it's very easy to get discouraged after a day, but it doesn't take a year either. But it does take a little bit of practice to get there. And it all starts with identifying what you really want to begin with. And if you don't know what you want, then at least start with a list of what you don't want. And that can help clarify what you do want. But I'm here to tell you, as we've turned over into a new year, there is nothing that you cannot have. If 2023 was a year of disappointment for you, professionally or personally, it can change immediately. But it has to start in our heads. We can't change what people do to us. We can't change how people act towards us. But we can change how we react, and we can change how we think and how we direct our energy. And that's what this is about today. So if you've really been through it and you feel like you're exhausted and you're just trying to go through the motions for another year and you're saying, it's just not going to happen for me, or I've tried this kind of stuff before and it didn't work, I'm going to ask you to give it one more shot. There is nothing that you cannot do. There is nothing that you cannot have. And sometimes it doesn't always look exactly like we've envisioned it or exactly like we want, but it always turns out to be that or something better. And that is a tribute to my friend, Rob Simonelli, life coach out there. If you're listening to this, Rob, that one's for you, because that's what you always told me too. This or something better. And we can only imagine what we can imagine. But as we grow into that in our minds, more comes to us, more ideas come to us. We start attracting that type of energy. There is nothing you can't have if you put your mind to it. And we're going to leave that today. I'd love to hear if you have any comments about that, shoot them on over to me. You want to talk about it? I'd love to have a conversation about this, because when you are developing your career strategy, if you don't have a column or a line for mind and emotional management, then you're not completing a fully robust plan. You would do that for any other part of your life. Do it for your career. You owe you. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the button, click the bell, and then get notified when new episodes drop. And in the meantime, we'll talk to you again next week. Live inspired.